This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Is ready to go, locked and loaded. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm all good. Yourself?
I can't complain. No COVID for now because it just seems like we're all going to get it, right? This one looks like it's the inevitable. I probably had and I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's possible. I got sick like middle of October, and in addition to my regular tests with the Dolphins for the media, I took another one that was like the PRC test, I think it's called, and they came back negative. So, but who knows?
And Omar said yesterday or 2 days ago on the show that you guys are forced to take the booster. That the Dolphins. I mean, I already took my booster, so I would be able to cover the Dolphins.
I already got mine also.
But the NFL is requiring boosters and everything now, huh, in order to cover their league. Wow, that's
to cover the playoffs. Correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of makes sense, dude. You want to try to protect people as much as possible, and the good thing is, if you're vaxxed, it looks like it goes right through you, bro. This variant doesn't look like it's nearly like the other ones that were pretty bad. So that's a good thing. Hey, you know what? Maybe it morphs weaker and weaker now instead. Maybe it gets watered down a little bit, this thing. Again, I'm not an epidemiologist, but I'm hoping that maybe that's the case, that this thing, as it morphs, it gets weaker and not stronger. That might be a thing.
Knock on wood, right? Be nice.
I know, man.
Get back to normal.
Maybe. Yeah. Back to like we could treat it like a cold. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then we can move on and okay, all right, that kind of stuff. Although in my business, it was never good for you to go to work with a cold because then you're coughing on the same mic that everybody else is. So if in our business, it was always like counterproductive to do it, yet we all did it. We all were coughing on the mic and hitting the call in and all that. And you're coming in after one nasty person was coughing all over that and all that. So yeah. It gets crazy. Those of us that have been working in solo studios for a while have had an advantage.
There you go.
Yeah. I had a nice streak at QAM and 640 for 8 years that I worked at home. So it was a beautiful thing not to have to work with the same mics that everybody else is working with. All right, let's get this going. 4 more added to the COVID list now. There is a chance we could get some of these guys back by Sunday, correct?
Yes, because now the new rules suggest it's 5 days away. But now that you mentioned 4 more on it, the Brian Flores told us this morning that 5 are coming off. Greg Mans, Duke Riley, Robert Jones, Ethan Carter, and Justin Coleman are coming off, and we'll be back at practice today. So
okay, I'm just hoping out of that list that just got on, I'm hoping Brandon Jones can clear on Sunday and get him in there, because I think their running game actually still is actually not bad right now. It's actually pretty decent for Tennessee. It's not what it was, obviously, with Derrick Henry, but I'd like Brandon Jones in a game like this, plus blitzing and all those other things, because I think you can, Ryan's the kind of guy you want to attack and fluster him, because I think you can get him into a mistake or two along the way. So I'd like to get Brandon Jones back.
He's also taken a lot of sacks, and the Tennessee offensive line, when healthy, is really, really good. But then again, we all know from Ryan's time in Miami that his pocket presence not exactly the best in the NFL. So I think there's something to that. And I think I'm going to guess he's somebody the Dolphins easily could fluster with their variety of blitzes. And this is where Brandon Jones comes in. But here's the thing. The other thing, too, is right now, can't complain, though, because Tennessee's also got, I think, it's about 10 players on their COVID list. And their list includes Julio Jones, Taylor Lewan, and Bud Dupree. And I think that's of a lot more significance than what the Dolphins have on their own COVID list at the moment.
Yeah. The only thing is I'm not so worried about Julio Jones, because the fragile one may not even last a whole quarter playing, even if he does make it to the field. The other two guys,
anyway, it's AJ Brown.
Yeah. To me, the heavyweight matchup is X against AJ Brown, bro. Mm-hmm. That to me is you want to earn your money. Here it is, dude. Okay, this is the guy, because that monster, because that's what AJ is. That monster is almost impossible to cover, dude. Like, you can't get around. He is one of the strongest receivers I have ever seen in my life, brother.
No, yeah, correct. That's his game, but X is not a frail cornerback,
No, I know. That's what I'm
and X
saying.
also is certainly capable of luring Tannehill into a couple of errant throws. I mean, I'd be very surprised if X does not come out of this game with a pick.
Yes, exactly. And I'd be very surprised if you don't put X on AJ Brown the entire time, because I don't like I don't like Jones on X, because Jones is not physical enough to I mean Jones on
Brown,
AJ Brown, because I just don't think he's physical enough. X is the one corner that Miami has that has a chance to defend this animal, because he is just a beast, dude.
no,
God.
that's fair. And the other big difference between Howard and Byron Jones, because I like Byron Jones as a cover guy. The problem is he
Yes.
doesn't play
I
the
agree.
ball particularly well. Like
No.
that 56-yard catch that's the New Orleans got in garbage time. I mean, Jones is right on him. He just didn't react to the ball as quickly as the wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then Javon Holland took a bad angle. But and this is not the first time we've seen Jones in really, really good coverage and then let the receiver make a play on the ball. And that happens with X. It's a pick. I mean,
Right. No, X has exceptional ball skills, and and Jones has
below
mediocre ball
average. Yeah,
skills
yeah,
as well.
way
Yeah,
below
yeah,
average.
it's definitely below average. It's not even close to average. Yeah, it's sad, because he's there to make some of those plays that if he had, you know, better ball skills, he would have way more interceptions in his career. I mean,
No question.
it takes a really bad quarterback like Ian Brook for him to pick up an interception. I hate to say it, but that's kind of the case. All right, so you mentioned something, and I talked about this before you came on. It's time. It's time to bench Austin Jackson. It's time to try Robert Jones. The continuity excuse does not work, because we're talking about Austin Jackson, who has no consistency to defend the continuity. And Robert Jones, you've kept him on for some reason, right? Why not try him at this point in time? Why not against these next two defenses? This guy might be the better guy. Early in the game last week, when you see the Gaskin play and that guy comes off the stunt and Jackson completely whiffs and doesn't see the guy. And I still think Tua should complete that pass, by the way. Okay. An elite quarterback has to complete that pass anyway. That's not that difficult, but obviously it got in the way of his pass. I just would rather at this point go with this guy to just try it, because I don't believe it can be any worse than it has. Your thoughts on that?
Here's my thought though: is all we see is the games. The Dolphin coaches see every practice, and I understand their stubbornness in wanting to make it work with Austin Jackson. But do we really believe, if they thought Robert Jones was a clear upgrade, or even Solomon Kindley, if they thought either of those guys was a clear upgrade over Austin Jackson, that they wouldn't do it because, oh, well, man, it's going to make us look bad if we're benching Austin Jackson completely? I don't buy that for a second. So I think like the idea of Robert Jones may be very nice in theory, that maybe the guy just isn't ready yet, and especially if you're going to throw him up against Jeffrey Simmons and that Tennessee defensive line. I just, again, to me in that particular situation, I kind of defer to those guys.
So the same guys that don't play Mac Hollins?
The same guys that don't play Mike Collins. And then to me, again, the difference, here's the difference there, is that we've seen Mac Collins in games, so we can compare him apples to apples. We haven't seen Robert Jones has been in the game as an extra offensive lineman, Big O. So we don't know what he is. We don't know what he's going to do in a regular season game. We know what Mac Collins is going to do. We know what Isaiah Ford and Preston Williams are at wide receiver.
But wait a minute.
Go ahead.
This helps me.
Go
So
ahead.
we're watching Mac Hollins be productive.
Mm-hmm.
They watch him and they don't play him. We watch him and they play him. So how do we know that Robert Jones behind the scenes isn't doing something and they're still not playing him? You know what I'm saying? So we see the obvious. that Matt Collins is reliable, that Matt Collins catches every damn thing you throw to him. You know what I'm saying? And so you don't play him.
Okay,
So
but here's the big difference.
That explanation you gave of Robert Jones doesn't fly.
But here's the big difference. You know why it flies?
If they don't react to the obvious, then they're probably not reacting to the obvious behind the scenes either.
Big O, here's the big difference. With Matt Collins, we're talking about the difference between him playing 10 snaps a game or playing 30 snaps a game. With Robert Jones, if you want to put him instead of Austin Jackson, you're talking about a full-time player who's going to play every single solitary down. Okay, and the other difference is Matt Collins is a veteran, and Robert Jones is like basically a guy who's with no NFL experience.
He's a rookie. Yeah,
he's basically a rookie. Yeah, no, he's a rookie. Right. Yeah. So
he's a rookie
again,
but
I'm not buying.
It can't be any worse than Austin Jackson, bro. It just can't be any worse than Austin Jackson. I mean, how much more do you need to get beat up by this guy for 2 years to finally just make a move? That's the part I don't understand. I really. Hey, and by the way,
this is 185 yards just 2 games ago.
And by the way, this is the team that also doesn't play Gesicki enough. Like I see him on the sidelines too much, and he's a playmaker. So how do you not put a playmaker on the field? You know, so Matt Collins makes plays, Gesicki makes plays. You don't play them enough. So how am I supposed to believe you that you won't even try Robert Jones? And now we're at a point which defends your point, by the way, that you're going up against Tennessee and New England. So now's when you're going to make that change. I get it. Why didn't you make it against the crappier teams a couple of weeks ago to kind of ease the guy in? You know what I'm saying? So that defends your point wholeheartedly. But my problem is you were playing a pretty good front this past week, and I'm watching Austin Jackson, and he was just terrible again. And while he played all right against a terrible Jets team, well, now the fronts get a lot better. Do we get back to being Austin Jackson, the guy that commits penalties and the guy that misses blocks, which is what we saw with New Orleans? That's my problem.
But it wasn't. But here's the thing, though: you can't replace the entire offensive line, and it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him. It wasn't just him.
I know, but I'm just asking for one guy. Just
I know one guy. Because I could make the argument: why in the hell are they not moving Robert Hunt to right tackle and put in either Solomon Kinley or the aforementioned Robert Jones at right guard? Because Jesse does. Number one, he doesn't look right.
And he's really not a tackle, bro.
He's not a tackle, and he doesn't look right physically.
So not a tackle. He's a 6-man, really. If you really want to call it like you see it, he's really a 6-man. I love him in the Andrew Gardner role, as I've said 1,000 times.
Yeah, that's a name from the past.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a Dolphin fan, you know that you remember the Jeff Ulanakes of the world, and you remember the Andrew Gardners of the world, the guys that played multiple positions for you.
But Ulanakes was the player. Ulanake was a good starting center. Andrew Gardner
and he played guard too, if I remember correctly. He moved around a little bit and then settled at center, right? Wasn't he early a guard also?
Maybe his first year, but I know he started at center for like 5 or 6 years straight.
And who was the other guy also that was a really good utility guy that Shula had also?
Jeff Dellenbach.
Dellenbach. That's it. Very good. Nice job by you, sir. Yeah, you're one of the few people that could come up with that name on the beat. So yeah, that's that kind of stuff. That's what he reminds me of. I don't have a problem with him in that role, but in this role, and I love your idea of Hunt to right tackle and put Jones at right guard to try something. But right now, I'm just looking and going, damn, dude, why not try that?
But we know it's not happening, right? We both understand.
No, I know it's not happening. I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean. Matt Collins, all he does is make plays, and it doesn't happen. So, I mean, I can't expect you to even try that if you're not playing the playmaker. The interesting stat, so Burrow's number 1 in sacks in the NFL at 47, and then Tannehill's number 2 at 45. Did you know that with a crappy offensive line and no running game, Tua's 32nd in the NFL at 15? I know he's missed a couple of games, but Brissett has played a lot less games, and he's at 19 and number 31 in the league. So it's not, I mean, that's, you start to think about it. Kid's adjusted pretty well for this situation where he's actually assisting this line because he really probably should have more sacks behind this damn line.
No, Big O, let's come on. Watch the games. It's the play calling, and it's Tua
Yeah.
throwing a ton of 5-yard passes, 2-yard passes, getting rid of the ball quickly. It's not a function of, oh my God, what is Tua's doing this amazing thing for the offensive line, or the offensive line all of a sudden is a juggernaut. It's basically what the Dolphins have done is they've adjusted. They have gone to a very quick, short passing game, which doesn't produce a whole lot of big plays, doesn't put up a ton of yards, doesn't put up a lot of points, but they don't need to right now the way the defense is playing. So
But I think
perfectly
you're not
logical.
giving. I think you're overlooking and not giving Tua enough credit. You're assuming every young quarterback can do this, and I disagree with that. You're assuming that if I got Tannehill in the same situation, that he would be able to do the same thing, and I disagree with you on that. I think a lot of young quarterbacks would struggle in this situation to do what he's doing, to decipher it so quickly and to make quick decisions. I think that's very veteran like to do that at this level compare because they know what's coming, and yet they're not stopping him. You know what I'm saying? 80% of it is going to Waddle, and yet they still can't stop him. I don't know, man. I think you're kind of overlooking, not giving him enough credit that he has done a marvelous job of adjusting to the chaos. And I think a lot of young quarterbacks would get hurt or make much more mistakes or take more sacks in the same situations.
Sorry. I'm watching the games, and there'll be a couple of times every game where Tua will do something really good. With the big difference between Tua and Ryan Tannehill is Tua has pocket presence, Tannehill doesn't. And every game there's some instances where you're going to see him move up in the pocket when the rush is coming around him, which is good job, Tua, very good. But to me, I don't think. See, you're telling me I'm not giving Tua enough credit. I don't think you're giving the play calling enough credit to where they're doing a good job. Because I'm like with you, I'm like, why is it those defenses are not completely keying on Jalen Waddle and taking him away because he's the only guy Tua throws to, especially Monday night. But then let's give credit to the fact that Waddle gets open because he's so quick, he's so fast, and the Dolphin play callers are doing a really good job of scheming it up to where he does get open. Not only him, but also a lot of guys that roll out quick pass to the side to Gesicki, which is basically 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and Gesicki has an open field and gets 6 or 7 yards. Again, that's scheming, and you want to say that's.
But think about
work. I mean, it's a really easy completion.
But think about it. If it's that easy, don't you think Sean Payton would have done it with Ian Book? And he couldn't. And Ian Book was confused.
We're going to compare Tua to Ian Book. We're going to compare Tua to Ian Book now?
I'm telling you, any young quarterback, I don't give a crap who it is.
Well, I don't know about any young dude. Tua is executing the offense they've put in place for him absolutely beautifully. Okay, I will absolutely.
There's a skill to that, right?
No question.
You're making it sound like it's very elementary. Like any quarterback can do that. Yeah, any Tom Brady, any Russell Wilson, any experienced quarterback could do what Tua's doing. Young quarterbacks, I don't know, man. I see young quarterbacks get
new for Tua. That's what he did in Alabama, and that's what he did as a rookie last year when they had him. Again, I don't know how many more flowers you want me to throw him for the type of offense they're running. Tua is perfect. The question is there will come a time when they're going to have to chuck it down the field a little bit more, and that's okay. And then we're going to see for what they're doing, and they have not needed to do more because the defense has been so dominant. It's perfect, and it makes no sense for those who want to see Tua check it down the field. Why right now? Why they don't need to? He's perfect for what they're doing, and he does it very well, Big O. And I will give the kid credit. He is operating that offense beautifully. Okay, and I'll even like forgive the little mistake here or there, like the pick on Monday night. Not the end of the world. That's going to happen. But I don't necessarily think. I mean, that it's anything out of this world. The completion percentage thing to me is overblown, like nobody's business. I mean, yeah, he's going to complete a lot of passes. They're all 5-yard passes. But for what he's asked to do, which makes sense given the structure of the team, he's doing a great job.
I just think that if it was that easy, every young quarterback and every offensive coordinator would do it to bring their quarterbacks along. And by the way, that's kind of what New England does with their quarterback. That's kind of what they're doing with their quarterback. the same
If
way.
and
You
if
know
you
what I mean?
notice, Mac Jones' completion percentage is right up there with Tua's, because
Yes.
both of those teams are built on winning with defense and avoiding mistakes on offense. And
Except one has a running game, the other one doesn't.
no, you're absolutely right. But then what happened though is we saw the last 2 weeks is New England went up against the Colts and they went up against the Bills. They major step up in competition, and just a little dink and dunk and do nothing but run, that doesn't fly anymore.
That's right. That's right. And we also watched Justin Herbert pee in his pants against the Houston Texans this past week too, by the way. So
they lost that game on defense. I know two guys really love to dump on Justin Herbert. They lost that game on defense. He had a great game, but they lost that game on defense.
I think Justin Herbert will be fine. But I like to dump on the people that already labeled Justin Herbert God when he's not even close to it. When you start winning games that matter and stuff like that, then tell me that you got God already. But at the moment, he's done a nice job because he's got great weapons around him and all that. But let's slow down.
Here's the thing, though. He's a point blank, no doubt about it. Big O. He's a point blank, no doubt about it. Franchise quarterback.
Franchise talent. Not yet quarterback.
Again, if we're going to throw that, we're going to throw the
one loss record. You got to win. You got to win something.
Yeah. Oh, here we go with the one loss record. Look at the defense that he's got. He's got a crap defense, which is 32nd in the NFL in third down defense. They're, I believe, near the bottom in rushing defense. Okay, so I'm not saying. In fact, I would make the argument
he had a chance to drive his team downfield to tie the game this week, and he threw a pick six. Okay,
they were down by 2 scores when the pick six occurred.
No, it was 1 score.
No, it was a 2-score game. It was 27-15.
Are you sure about that?
I am positive. You can look it up by all means, and you can tell me I'm wrong, and I'll publicly apologize to you. They were down 2 scores because his running back fumbled near midfield.
Oh, that's right. You're right. The running back fumbled. He was 2 scores. You are correct.
And I'm assuming that's not his fault, right?
Jackson, right? Jackson fumbled, I think it was, right?
Yes, Jackson. And Big O, the point I was going to make. Okay, the point I was going to make is I would even tell you right now, I think the one of the 2020 quarterbacks who's had the best year this year is Joe Burrow.
Oh, by far. It's not even close. He's the only young quarterback that I would call the guy. I wouldn't call Herbert the guy. I wouldn't call Tua the guy. I wouldn't call any of the young guys that got taken. The only guy that has arrived in my eyes is that guy. That guy's the shit.
Okay, well, agree to disagree. I throw Herbert in there as well, but that's okay.
I don't throw Herbert in there. This guy's the shit. That guy, I like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the guy, bro. He's the guy, and he showed it to me at LSU, and he's showing it to me now with the Bengals. I mean, that kid's got the whole package, bro. I still don't know about Herbert yet. Herbert is all world in talent. I still don't know si tiene los cojones that you need to be a guy in the fourth quarter to win the big games. That's the part I need to see about Herbert. Herbert's on the all-runway team. There's no doubt about it. He looks beautiful. He's got the arm, the athleticism. He's got it all. You got to show me the winning because I didn't see it at Oregon, and I still haven't seen it with the Chargers. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him be that guy.
That's fair, but as you mentioned, let's see him in positions of.
But Burrow. This year already, I've seen it from Burrow, okay? And I watched it at LSU, okay? Burrow is he's the one guy that if anybody tells me out of the young guys, that guy, and you were saying it, I'm with you there. That guy I believe in. That guy has already passed the test for me. The other guys, I love Tua. I think Tua will be the guy, but of course, if you don't get him the line or the running game, he's done. He's cooked. He's going to struggle like this the entire time because you got to get him the coaching. You got to get him the right people around him. But Burrow's got it right now. He's got the people around him right now. Zach Taylor's actually turned out to be a better coach than what we expected when he was here. And we were like, that's the QB coach and all that. And he was, fresh-faced, 3 hairs off his chin. And we didn't think much of Zach Taylor then.
But they've done some good drafting. I mean, T. Higgins is a hell of a receiver, and Jamar Chase obviously the hell of a receiver also.
Dude, he made a man's catch this week, T. Higgins, between 2 guys in the air. That was Pro Bowl caliber right there, bro. That was nasty. That was
and their third wide receiver is as good as maybe any second wide receiver in the league. I mean, their top 3 wide receivers are completely ridiculous. I mean,
no, you're right. Listen, over the years they've had some pretty good talent go through there. Okay, all right. They've actually done a little, they've done a pretty decent job in the draft over the years. And right now, man, I will say Burrow is he has impressed me big time. All right, so this week, what's the most important thing for you in order to win this game for the Miami Dolphins?
Same. It's going to be the same as always. I mean, this is the same formula. If they're going to win, it's going to be a low-scoring game. They need to find a way, avoid mistakes on offense. It's the same as always. And then you mentioned Tennessee's actually had some decent games running the ball, even without Derrick Henry. Somehow they rushed for I think it was 270 yards against New England.
They got a good line, man. They got a good line.
Really crazy. Don't make it easy on Ryan Tannehill, basically. And then same old formula, and then they can get out of Tennessee with a win. I don't think they're going to do a whole lot offensively, but they have the capability of completely shutting down the Titans and creating some turnovers.
What did John Madden mean to you as we get out of this segment, my man?
Multiply talented individual, fabulous coach with a great record, great commentator who somebody made the point. He just made the game fun. It wasn't like it's like you were watching the game with a buddy. It wasn't like I'm a former player. I'm going to break it down like this, and so serious. It was like, hey, look at that guy. Boom. He went over. I mean, it was like, yeah, it's like watching the game with a buddy. And then, of course, the video game, which is a fabulous game, to which he lent his name. And it's one of those, for some reason, it brought me back to Nick Bonacani, who had so many different great careers as a football player, as a lawyer, a commentator on the HBO. And John Madden, even though in his case, everything was related to football, but it was like success after success after success,
Dude, I lived for Inside the NFL with Dawson and Bonacani, man. God, that was it was so awesome. I had my little HBO antenna on top of my TV antenna there because, back in the day, you only had one channel of, HBO in the very early 80s. And that was I lived for Bonacani and Dawson every week on Inside the NFL, man. That was such a great show.
That show was can't miss.
Yeah. Every time. Both were exceptional, by the way. Len Dawson also multi-talented too, multifaceted also. Appreciate you as always. Make sure you catch all his work there at Sports Illustrated and bookmark it. If you're a Dolphin fan, wherever you are in the world watching or listening to this show, bookmark Sports Illustrated's Dolphins page because Alain Poupart is driving it every day, producing at least 87 stories a day. It's amazing, but he does it. Alain, as always, you're a stud. Thank you, my brother. We'll talk on Sunday.
Yep. Speak to you after the game. Have a good rest of the week. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year, my friend. There you go. Alain Poupart. Good stuff as always with our Sports Grill Miami Dolphins Insider Report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.